Behind me, you can see a reflection pool that is located in a war memorial in the capital of Australia, Canberra. And this is the city that we're going to be exploring today with you.
Today we are heading to Canberra. We're driving out from Sydney and we have about 3 hours of road ahead of us. Yeah, see you later in Canberra.
Before we dive into famous local sites, let's shortly talk about how Canberra came to be. Did you know that Canberra was a modest settlement known as Canberry, the name that derived from Aboriginal term meaning a meeting place, showcasing its significance as a central gathering point. Already then, by 1834, the name evolved to Canberra. Despite the fierce competition between Sydney and Melbourne to become the nation's capital, Canberra emerged victorious. In 1901, it was officially designed as a capital of Australia, marking a pivotal moment of city's history. A worldwide competition was launched to design the heart of Australia in 1911. A design by an American architect, Walter Burley Griffin won. As soon as you drive into the city, you notice that the city was built to be a capital with wide roads and futuristic design. So in a way it doesn't really feel like the city grew naturally, but rather it was like designed for a specific purpose. Now that we got to know the city a bit, let's see what it's got to offer.
Learning the game from the ground up in the blind flying trainer, where behind closed doors they handle apparatus under realistic conditions.
Welcome to our first destination at the heart of Australia's military history, the Australian War Memorial in Canberra, a tribute to brave men and women who have served and sacrificed for their country. The Australian War Memorial is more than just a building. It's a symbolic tribute, a place of remembrance, a repository of stories that resonate through time. While strolling through the corridors of this institution, you notice that each element tells a story, a sacrifice, a duty, not only to Australians, but also to all those brave souls that had to take up arms for their nation. This is a unique place because you get to learn Australia's military history all the way back from colonial times to this very present day. And you're not left alone with simple text to go through, but there are a huge number of artifacts, photographs, artworks and personal narratives that vividly capture and retell nations' involvement in various conflicts. Conflicts dating back to 1790, a Sydney Cove War, until today's peacekeeping missions, all told in deepest details, will leave your heart bleeding for all those involved in these conflicts. An intriguing aspect while visiting War Memorial was experiencing history from a perspective of a Southern Hemisphere for the first time. Typically, our education focuses on history from a European or Northern Hemisphere standpoint, leaving the Southern Hemisphere narratives less explored. If you find yourself in Canberra, the War Memorial is an absolute must visit. According to the instructors, all the artifacts that are exhibited are authentic remains from the actual wars and not mere replicas. This place has a wealth of narratives, and its stories continually expand alongside the growing collection of artifacts, offering insight into the enduring tales of bravery and sacrifice. After an enlightening visit to War Memorial, we headed to Capitol Hill to learn more about how Australia is governed. This is where the Parliament and other diplomatically important buildings are located. While in there, we decided to take a quick peek into the Australian Parliament. To our surprise, there were quite many visitors. Apparently, about 1 million people visit this place annually. Parliament consists of two houses, the Senate and the House of Representatives, and the King, represented in Australia by the Governor-General. In 1901, the Australian Constitution established the Australian Parliament, also known as the Federal Parliament or Commonwealth Parliament. The Australian Parliament has four main roles: making and changing federal laws, representing the people of Australia, providing a place where government is formed, keeping a check on work of the government. Welcome to the Parliament of Australia. This is where all the bells and all the warm discussions happen. While visiting the Parliament, make sure to visit the roof, as the beautiful sceneries open from the up top, where you can see the old Parliamentary House, city centre and beautiful mountains that safeguard the capital. I will try not to pretend that I understand how the parliamentary system in Australia works, but instead I'm going to kindly ask you to share it with us and with all the other viewers to put it down in the comments. Thank you. After having an insight into politics, it was time to get to know the culture, so we came to visit the National Gallery of Australia. The National Gallery is Australia's national visual art institution dedicated to collecting and celebrating art from Australia and the rest of the world. It houses the most valuable collection of art in Australia, which comprises of 155,000 works of art, including the world's largest collection of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders art. National Gallery also contains pieces of art which are representative of different parts of the world. For example, the collection includes some of the finest examples of French Impressionism, Dada and Surrealism, the Russian avant-garde, abstract expressionism, pop art, minimalist, and conceptual art. Even though I can be quite an ignorant person when it comes to art, I really enjoyed our visit to National Gallery. An interesting discovery during our visit was the richness of Aboriginal art that we got to witness. And to be frank with you, I really liked it, and even got a small souvenir to take back home with us. It's often said that understanding or interpretation of art is rather a subjective matter. So, since we got to enjoy this experience as well, I will also try to share some of the videos that I have taken so that you can try to interpret and try to understand the art that is presented here according to your own interpretation. So, feel free to share your thoughts and interpretations if you wish down in the comments. Canberra is a calm, beautiful and amazing getaway, especially if you're staying in busy cities like Sydney or Melbourne. So, we spent a day there, well, half a day. We had a chance to visit all the cultural places such as museums, National Gallery, Parliament, and we enjoyed it a lot. But while looking up the places to visit here, I also noticed that not so far from the capital, there are these amazing natural getaways as well, such as different types of lookouts. And here we are in one of those spots. So at the moment we are at Shephards Lookout, and this place is simply amazing. Let me show you what I mean. Visiting Canberra for a couple of days also makes sense, because you can spend a day in a city itself, and the rest of the days, or a day, you can then spend in some of these hiking spots or lookouts, basically out in the nature. And terrain here is totally different from what we have seen near Sydney. So I would say, for me, it somehow reminds the Tuscany in Italy, or Tajikistan, or Uzbekistan. So at least partly. So yeah, I certainly would suggest you to come and visit these lookouts at some point if you're visiting Canberra.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, maybe you'll get sick of being the monster out of my head, under my bed. Think you're something out of my nightmares, sitting right there. But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, then will you get bored of killing me?
Silhouettes of you are like a taunt. Never really know just what you want. With you I don't ever feel calm. I can feel the sweat inside my palms. Play with me like cats and a string. You don't understand the pain it brings. You don't ever wanna give me wings. You don't ever wanna set me free. You know I'm addicted to you, and it's twisted, you've been gifted with the evil voodoo. Got me coming back for more, even when I've been screwed. Dolls full of pins, pierce my heart straight through. I got issues in my head, I like you in my bed, but you keep me on red. Oh, everything is like a test, I better not text or I'll come off desperate.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, maybe you'll get sick of being